Shrestha manamapi Shachiputram atra swarupam Rupam tasyakajam uri purim maturim koshtvatim Radha kundam girivaram Aho radhika madhavasam Prapto yasya pratita kripaya Sri Gurum Tam Anatosmi Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Itadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tat Bhaktaya Namo Nama Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Hema Buddhivyacchavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshay Bande Namaste Govinda Damodar Everyone, Hey Krishna Sham Sundar Shikanda Shekhar Smarha Smurali Manara Radhikara Sakamama Kripanate Supriyacharna Kinkarinkuru Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvayavana Tivikaya Devitam Namam Charnatikam. First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers, thousands of times at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmatiya Paramaradhatama Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Ashtotara Satasri, Rupanuga Acharya Varya, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupada, and to all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Pancha Kalpatarus, and Upasana, Puritam Bhavani, Vaishnavi Devanam. Gurudev Ki Jai! So as promised, today we begin the discussion of Nāma-tattva, the reality of the holy name of Sri Krishna. It is so profound. What is the nature of the holy name? How is it different from all the other names that we use in our daily conventional discussions? In Sri Laghu Bhagavatamrita, there Srila Rupa Goswami Pad has said Sri Chaitanya Mukud Girna Hare Krishneti Varnaka Majjayantam Jagat Premni Vijayantam Tadavaya. The meaning is Sri Chaitanya Mukha Udgirna. This Hare Krishna Mahamantra, these beautiful syllables, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, where did they come from? They're Udgirna, they have erupted from the mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mukudgirna. Who is Mahaprabhu? He is the Ashray Jatiya Leela Aswada Daka. He's that Krishna, the supreme absolute truth, relishing the sweetness of his own pastimes from the contrary position of the shelter of love for himself, especially, particularly, from the position of Sri Radha. So, Anta Krishna Bahi Gaura. Inside, he is Krishna, but outside, he has a golden complexion because he is absorbed in Radha Bhav. Radha Bhava Jyoti Suvalita Nomi. He is the Prem Vilas Vivartamai Murti. When Radha and Krishna, they absorbed in their loving pastimes, they become bewildered, they become confused. Radhika cannot remember, am I Radhika or am I Krishna? Krishna cannot remember, am I Krishna or am I Radhika? And that very bhav, Prem Vilas Vivarta of Radha and Krishna has a vigraha, a deity, that is Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So Sri Chaitanya Mukudgirna Hare Krishneti Varnaka, the syllables of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra have emanated, they have erupted, Udgirna, erupted from the mukha, from the mouth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is important here is, just as, a volcano also erupts from its mouth. But what comes out from the volcano did not come from the mouth, it came from deep, deep within the earth. So in the same way, this Hare Krishna Mahamantra has come from deep, deep within the heart of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mukudgirna Hare Krishneti Varnakaha Majjayantam Jagat Premni Vijayantam Tadavaya. Oh, glories to this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. By this Mahamantra, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Majjayantam Jagat Premni, he has immersed the entire universe in prayer, in pure spontaneous love of Radha and Krishna. So then one may think, well, I've been looking around the universe and I'm not seeing that inundation, the flood of prem that was advertised in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Sri Chaitanya Chandramrita. So then, Shastra cannot be wrong. So taking shelter of the prayers of Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, he has said, Vanchatosmi, Vanchatosmi, Vanchatosmi na Sangshaya, Vishvam Gaura Rase Magnam, Sparsho Pi Mama Nabhavat. He's saying, Vanchatosmi, I've been cheated. I've been cheated. I've been cheated. Vanchatosmi, Vanchatosmi, Vanchatosmi na Sangshaya. There's no doubt about it. Why? Vishvam Gaura Rase Magnam, the entire universe was inundated, flooded with the Gaura Rasa, the mellows of love, distributed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But sparshopi mama na bhavat. But a miracle took place. I have not been touched by even a single drop. How did it happen? You could imagine if you're staying in a coastal town and a huge tsunami comes and just washes away all the houses and all the cars. It passes and you're standing on the beach and you're not even wet. How did that happen? Now, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, he's praying in this way out of humility. Out of humility. Really, he is one of the first ones carried away by that ocean of love. But it's the nature of prem itself. Premara swabhav jahan premara sambandha se mane Krishna mori nahi prema gandha. If there's a true relationship of love, then the person who has a love, he feels, I have not even the slightest scent of that love from far away. Even Radhika, na prema gandosti durapa meharo, krandami sobhagya baram prakashitam, bangsi vilasana nalokaram bina, vibharmi tat prana patangatam prita. Radhika weeps. Alas, love is very far away from me. I have not even attained the scent of it at a distance. Sakhi say, but you're crying. You're crying without Krishna. Oh no, that is just I'm making a show of tears. But this love cannot be real. Why? Because a fish cannot live without water. If you take the fish out of the water, then it's flapping in anxiety for a few moments and then gives up its life. So a fish loves water, it cannot live. But in my case, even though I am not seeing the smiling face of the son of Nanda Maharaj, holding a flute to his lips, but still I am alive. I maintain my life uselessly, without any purpose, like an insect. So even those who have prem, they feel they have no prem because this love is an unquenchable thirst to please Krishna. So it doesn't matter, if you have an unquenchable thirst, if you drink 1 liter, 2 liters, 3 liters, you feel as if you did not have one drop. So in the same way, even though Radhika pleases Krishna continuously, more and more at every moment, but she feels that I have not pleased him and she becomes in anxiety over this. Kinatvam tatso kepyo arti sankaya. It's one of the symptoms of the Mahabhav of Radhika. To become emaciated in anxiety that Krishna's undergoing some discomfort, even though she's fully pleasing him. So when Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur says, Vancha tosmi, I've been cheated. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inundated the universe with prem, but I was not touched by a single drop. We should think it's humility. But if we will pray from ourselves, presenting our case, then we'll think this is not humility, it's completely true. It's actually true. I have not been touched by a drop. Mahaprabhu manifested this divine Mahamantra in the world, inundated the world with love. But I'm not feeling that love. Why? Why? I'm bereft. Taramadhi Savashastha Nama Sankirtan Niraparadhnam Laile Pai Premadhan. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that of all the angas of bhakti, the chanting of the holy name is the best of all. In fact, Nava Vida Bhakti Purna Nama Hoite Hoy. simply by chanting the holy name, then all the other angas of bhakti become complete. Done. If someone has chanted Hare Krishna, then all the other angas of them, bandhanam, archanam, whatever. There's some mystery behind it. Just like a pujari, he may come and he may bathe the deities and decorate the deities and offer bhog, offer flowers to the deities. Then how is that completed if someone has chanted Hare Krishna? Why? Because to chant Hare Krishna without offense, to chant Shuddha Naam, the pure name, means to, in one spiritual form, to enter into the Leela of Sri Krishna, to see his beautiful form and to directly serve him. And therefore, simply chanting Harinam, it is considered Navavida Bhakti Purna Nama Hoite Hoi. All the angas of bhakti are complete only by chanting, but actual chanting, not the Nam Aparad, not Nam Abbas, not offense to the name or the shadow of the name, but Shuddha Nam. So Taramat De Savashasta Nam Sankirtan, of all angas of bhakti, chanting Harinam is complete, independent, and the best of all. Niraparad Nam Laile Pai Premadhan, if a person will chant the holy names without committing any offenses to the name, then they will attain Krishna Prem. So sometimes it happens that a devotee has been chanting Hare Krishna for many years, but they don't feel that they're making significant progress. It may be that they're not relishing the sweetness of these syllables, Krishna. Radhika said, "Oh, how much sweetness is there in these two syllables, Krishna? My tongue cannot give it up. Krishna, 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 Krishna. Keva Shuddha Ilo Shama Nam Achigo. Kanera Bithari Diya. Marame Pasilogo." Radhika said, "Who is the person who first put these syllables in my ear? Krishna. If I could find that person, well, then I would teach them such a lesson that they'll not do such a cruel thing to anyone else ever again." Because from the moment I heard these two syllables, Krishna, then it attacked my pran. I cannot live, I cannot live. What's happening to me? If just the name of this sweet boy, the son of Nanda Maharaj, has such effect on my heart, then I cannot imagine what would happen if he touched me. So Radhika herself, she's experiencing the unlimited sweetness in the names of Krishna. But alas, alas, it may be that we are not tasting that sweetness. Why is that? Because of the Nam Aparad. Because of Nam Aparad. Rad means has many meanings. It means worship, Rad Dhatu. It means success. It means the pleasure. So apa means down. Apa means down. Therefore, that attitude by which the satisfaction of Krishna goes down is called aparad. Aparad, which makes Krishna's satisfaction diminish, is called aparad. And it is due to the presence of many offenses to the holy name, Nam Aparad, in this life, and perhaps in previous lives also. that a person does not experience the glories of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And when a person becomes covered by an offense, another offense, or even they have such conceptions about the holy name which are unknowingly aparad, offensive, then that soul, being buried by a very dense network of offenses, cannot get out. And so the days go by, the years go by, the decades go by. The lifetimes go by. And the nectar of the holy name does not become available. So how can a person who is in such a position, who is not progressing, who is buried by a complex network of offenses, how can they be freed? How can they get out from this situation? It's very serious. And if we take our own pulse, we may find that, oh, I am in that condition. So it's possible to come out from that condition. How? By sadhu sangha, by association. The first anga of bhakti is sravanam, hearing. By hearing from a Nāma-tattva guru, that means a spiritual master who has realized the glories of the holy name. By that hearing, we can attain a clear conception of Nāma-tattva. And we can adjust our position in relation to the holy name in such a way that we don't continue to create obstacles for ourselves in our spiritual life by Nāma-aparad. So today what we want to do is discuss Nāma-tattva specifically. How is it that the names of Krishna are different from the names that we use in our everyday familiar discussion? Then we want to discuss how, if the holy name is transcendental and our body, mind and senses are material, how is it possible that the two may interact? It's a very profound question. And especially Srila Jiva Goswami Pad has analyzed and explained these topics in detail in Bhagavad Sandarbha. So let's begin at the beginning. And if you have found yourself not progressing in chanting the holy names, we'll come back to basics, come back to square one, and from the ground up, completely reconstruct our understanding of Nāma-tattva without any misconceptions or defects. So once, I made one program and there was a scientist there. He was a physicist. And he came to me and he said, why do you keep repeating these words over and over again? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare. What possible benefit can come from this? Why repeat these particular words? Why not repeat some other words in another language? Surely, if you repeat some other words other than these words again and again, it will produce the same effect eventually. Because this repetition of a phrase or repetition of the 3 words, it seems to be like some kind of self-hypnosis. So you're not actually learning about something or realizing something outside of yourself, something which is objectively true. It seems that you're just creating your subjective psychological state for yourself. So all of these assumptions, they're based on the idea that when we say mantra, when we utter mantra, that the words of the mantra and the words that we use in ordinary everyday life, they're the same. They're in the same category. So our first question is this: what is the true nature of the holy name? And how is it different from other words? So for this, there's some terminology given by acharyas, which is very helpful. So you should note it down in your heart and deliberate upon it very carefully. First, van manasa gochara. Van manasa gochara. The word van means vak, the power of speech. And gochara means perceptible. Agochara means imperceptible or not available, not accessible by. So the van manasa gochara, the word manasa means by the mind, and van means vak, by the speech. In other words, this holy name is not perceivable by and not accessible by the power of human speech. It is also not accessible by the power of the human mind. So already, practically 99.99999% of everyone's ideas about the holy name, already they're off the table. In fact, it's not even clear what the positive side of what the name is, because this is a elimination. It is a description of what the holy name isn't. So what the holy name isn't is the holy name isn't available by the power of speech or the power of mind and intellect. So all of those thoughts, just cancel them. In Prema Vivarta, there Jagadananda Pandita said, Asadu Sanghe Bhai, Krishna Naam Nahi Hai, Nāma-kshara bahirai bate, tabu nama kabu nai. It means that asadu sangha, if a person is in the association of worldly minded materialists, those who are not sadhu, sadbhavai sadubhavai. The word sadhu means who has realized his sambandha, relationship with Sat, the absolute truth. So in the company of those who have not realized Sri Krishna, then Krishna Naam Nahi Hai, the holy name never manifests. In that company will not appear. Holy name is Krishna himself. And he appears in the form of syllables, Nāma-kshara. Jaya Jaya Hari Nam, Chid Ananda Amrita Dham, Para-tattva, Akshara Akar. He is the embodiment of eternity, consciousness and bliss. See Krishna himself, who kindly appears in the form of these syllables. However, those syllables that are directly Krishna don't appear when a person is in the company of worldly minded persons. Nāma-kshara bahirai bate, tabu nama kabunai. Because Nāma-kshara bahirai, the external sound of the syllables, is not the transcendental name. So, if a person thinks, I am chanting, but they associate with worldly minded persons, then this is not the holy name. If a person thinks, I can produce this mantra by my own powers of speech, this is not the holy name. In Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad said, Atashi Krishna Namadi na bhavat grayam indriyai sevanmukhi jivado swayameva sparatyada. That the name, form, qualities and pastimes of Krishna are not accessible through na bhavat grayam indriyai, through the senses, material senses. But sevanmukhi jivado, when a person becomes seva unmukh, that means they are completely attentive to Krishna's service at every moment. Then swayameva spuratyada, the holy name himself descends. Kali kale namarupe Krishna avatar. In the age of Kali, Sri Krishna descends in the form of his holy name. So just as Lord Ramachandra in the Treta Yuga, from Sanket Dham, he manifests his Leela in this world, in his Ayodhya. Just as Sri Krishna once in a day of Brahma appears in Gokul Mahavan, in Brajamanda. So in the same way, the appearance of the holy name is Sri Krishna himself by his own sweet will as avatar. Even we cannot say avatar, but avatari. That means the source of all avatars, Sri Krishna himself descends by his own sweet will. Therefore, Rupa Goswami Pada said, Narad vinod's jivana sudurmi niryasa madhuri pura tvam Krishna nama kamas purame rasena rasane sada. Rupa Goswami is saying, Oh Nam Prabhu, my master, holy name, you who, Narad vinod's jivana, you who give life to the veena of Narad. That means that Narad, he doesn't play the veena. He just sings Radharaman. And as he sings the holy name, that means the holy name descends. Then his veena comes alive and starts to play itself. O holy name, you who are Madhuri Niryasa Madhuri Pura, you are like a flood of sweetness with waves of delicious nectar. Tvam Krishna Nama Kama. Kam means, O Nam, by your sweet will, by your own desire. Rasane, upon my tongue. Spurane, manifest yourself upon my tongue. Rasena sada, along with, O Nam, don't come alone, come along with all the rasa of your Leela and your associates and loving pastimes. So this is Harinam. We should not have some casual conception that anyone can just grab their mala and say, okay, Harinam, let's go. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur gave the example that anyone who picks up his mala as if he's taking the reins of a horse, right? If you're the owner of a horse, you get on the horse and you grab the reins. Come on, horse, let's go. You're in charge, right? No, we're not in charge. Don't pick up your japamala like taking the reins of the horse. This is like taking a begging bowl. We're begging. That unlimitedly wealthy person may donate us a drop of Krishna Prem. Prema dana bina byarta daridra jivan dasakori vetan mori deho prema dan. When Mahaprabhu was explaining Shikshastakam, he said, without the treasure of love for Krishna, I am destitute, I'm a beggar. I'm completely broke. I have nothing. So Krishna, please, make me your servant. If Krishna will say, but if you'll become my servant, then I'll have to give you a salary. Mahaprabhu is saying, yes, I want a salary, but only the salary of Prem. Dasakuri vetan mori deho premadan. This is the only salary that in my heart there should be unconditional, spontaneous love for your lotus feet. The holy name is Divya Aprakrita, divine and supernatural. Therefore, first thing you should think, Nam Prabhu is what? Van Manas Agochara. Van Manas Agochara, beyond the power of speech and beyond the power of the mind. Okay, the next term. Nikala Praman Parichched Agochara. Agochara, again, it is inaccessible. To what? Nikala Praman Parichched. Praman means the method by which we attain knowledge. We discussed it yesterday. Prama, the word prama means yathartha gyan, valid understanding, valid knowledge, that is called prama. And prama sadayati iti praman, that by which we attain valid knowledge is called praman. So in Vedic philosophy, there are 10 types or methods by which we attain understanding, knowledge of anything. So that is called the Praman Parichched, the different types, the separate different types, Praman Parichched. And Nikala means all. So Nikala Praman Parichched Agochara. The holy name is not accessible by all of the 10 methods of investigation. So for example, pratyaksh, direct sense perception, we cannot know the holy name. Anuman, that means by inference. Shabda. Now, Shabda, the holy name is available by the Shabda Brahma, transcendental sound that comes from the sadhu. This is why mantra should be received from a sadhu. But here we can say that that by which the holy name is not available is just the authority of the Vedas. If someone will pick up the Vedas, if one will pick up and read it, it's not accessible through that testimony. Or even it's not available by hearing from someone reciting the Vedas if they don't have realization. Because that's not Shabda Brahma. So then Arsha. Arsha means the authoritative statements of demigods or sages. Because there are many sages, like Yajnavalkya, Astavakra. There are many sages and their statements are in the Vedas. But they don't know Nāma-tattva. Who knows Nāma-tattva? Only the Mahajans. Swambhu, Narada, Shambhu, Prahlada, Kapilomanu, Kumara, Janako, Bhishmo, Balivaya, Sakirvayam. Only the 12 Mahajans. We always say the 12 Mahajans, but really there are 15 because one of the 12 Mahajans is the 4 Kumaras. Right, so, I mean, it's convenient to say the 12 Mahajans, but one of them is a group of 4. So, they're called the Mahajans because they've realized Nāma-tattva. So even the statements of many sages does not give us the proper understanding. That's why I said, Tako Pratishta Sutayo Vibhinna Nasa Rishya Yasha Matamna Bhinnam. We cannot know the truth by our logic, by studying the Vedas, Shrutayo Vibhinna. That's what we were just saying about Shabda in the sense of studying the Vedas. Because the Vedas say so many things. Nasav Rishi Yasya Matam Nabinam. And all the rishis, they're only famous because they have different opinions from each other. If the rishis if the rishis agreed with each other, then the one who had the idea first would be famous and all the others would just be considered his followers. So Kanad Rishi is famous because he came up with Vaisheshik Darshan. Patanjali is famous because he explained yoga sadhana, right? Gautam Rishi because he explained Nyaya, logic. So all the rishis have different ideas, so we can't find the truth by this way. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam kuhayam mahajano yena gatasa panta. Therefore, the secret truth, the secret of the absolute truth of Dharma and Nāma-tattva is hidden in the hearts of the Mahajans, and therefore the path is to take shelter of the Mahajans and follow in their footsteps. So another way we get knowledge, upaman. Upaman means comparison, by comparison. So perhaps you've never seen a nilgai. Have you seen a nilgai? Who hasn't seen a nilgai? Yeah. So nilgai means blue cow. So you think, well, I've seen blue and I've seen a cow, so you put the two together. So by comparison, you can get some knowledge. That's called upaman. Then artapati. Artapati means some assumption. Some assumption. You see a person named Devadatta. Devadatta is always the person, the name which is used in examples in logic, Devadatta. So we can say that there's a person named Devadatta and he's very fat. But everyone knows that Devadatta never eats during the day. So here the artapati, or the assumption is, he must be stuffing himself at night. Right? Because all day, no one ever sees him eat. Then why is he so fat? Then by artapati we can say, he must be eating secretly so much at night. Artapati means assumption. Then abhav. Abhav is one way that we get knowledge also. Abhav means absence or anupalabdhi. That is not perception, but the non-perception of something. Let's say you come home to your house and you walk in and you notice that your television and all the furniture has gone. Now you didn't see something, but by not seeing something, then you can get the knowledge that you have been burgled. Right? You've been raided while you're out. So that's another way of learning by non-perception. Then sambhav. Sambhav means, the word sambhav means inclusion. So we can say that if someone says, all men are mortal, all men are mortal, and then you learn that Socrates is a man. So then, by inclusion in a category that you already know something about, then you can know something about that person. So Socrates is mortal. So sambhav is another method of attaining knowledge. Then there is aitya. Aitya means history, tradition. Just like if you go to Delhi, you can see there's the Red Fort. Have you seen the Red Fort in Delhi? So that is the castle of the Pandavas. Well, everyone says it is. But whether it is or not, we don't know. But anyway, the tradition, there's a verbal tradition that says this. So, and then finally, there is a cheshta. Cheshta means gestures. So the cheshta means gestures that a person can communicate some knowledge to others through their gestures. So especially we see in dance and also in yagyas, because when a Vedic yagya sacrifice, fire sacrifice is going on, there are many priests involved and they all have to be synchronized with each other in their activities. So they make certain cheshta, hand gestures to each other because they can't say, hey, they can't interrupt the performance of the ceremony. So these are 10 ways. This is called Nikala Praman Parichchad. all the 10 types of methods of investigation and attaining knowledge. So Nikila Praman Paritched Agochara. The holy name, you cannot know about it by any of these methods. Then, the next quality of the holy name we should know is Swataha Siddha. Swata Siddha. Swataha means self. Siddha, existing. The holy name is self-existent. And we discussed yesterday that self-existence implies or entails omnipotence. Because if something is the cause of its own existence and the way in which it exists, that means the desire of that entity corresponds directly to reality without any mediation. So when a desire becomes reality without anything instrumental in between, that's called omnipotence. So the holy name is Svatasiddha, self-existent, omnipotent. It is not like anything else we know. Our body came from our mother. Our mother's body came from her mother, and so on. All the things around us, they have some preconditions. So we have no experience with something which is self-existent. But that which is self-existent is self-existence entails omnipotence, consciousness. So the holy name is God Himself. And so, because the holy name is self-existent, you cannot create it by your voice. The holy name can manifest you, but you cannot manifest the holy name. There's an asymmetrical power differential here, right? There's a huge asymmetrical power differential between us and the holy name. But we can become so cavalier and say, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Not like that. We are not in control. The name is in control. So one should not consider that Srila Sanatana Goswami Pad makes this point in his commentary on Hari Bhakti Vilas. One should not consider that the Naam is Jiv Adin, under the control or subordinate to your tongue. Jiva means tongue and Adin means subordinate. So when we are chanting, should not think Naam is Jiva Adin, but we want that name will descend and then our tongue will become Naam Adin. Our tongue will be under the control of the holy name. Tunde itandavani ratimbitanute itandavali labdaye. Rupa Goswami Pad has written, when the holy name appears, it dances on the tongue. In other words, the name is doing the dancing, causing the tongue to move. So, the holy name is so powerful that Lord Brahma created this entire universe, not by the power of the holy name, by the power of Nam Abbas. In the Brahma Samhita it's described that by the Abbas of the Kam Gayatri, which is just Krishna's names with a beach, by the Abbas of the Kam Gayatri, Lord Brahma created the universe. So how powerful is direct Sakshat Nam Prabhu? How powerful. So we must approach Nam Prabhu, our Master, the Holy Name, with the greatest honor. Now, next term we should know. We are reconstructing our notion of Nam Prabhu from the beginning, from the ground up. Whatever impressions you may have had before, you can delete that file. And even if it's in the trash, then just move it to the secure empty trash. Gone. Completely. And we should accept how our great acharyas have described the name. Because it's inevitable when a person comes to the spiritual society and hears, oh, chant this mantra, Hare Krishna, that we have some impressions from our childhood about abracadabra, some magic words or voodoo or something like this. And everyone brings their impressions with them into spiritual life. And so surrender means to put aside our own impressions and hear. Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur said, if we want auspiciousness in our life, we should subject ourselves to only hearing from a spiritual source. We should not accept the opinions and characterizations of the world which come from those who are in moha, bewilderment, in illusion. It cannot help us. So those impressions must be put aside and we must learn again from the beginning. By Shravanam. Pratamam namna Shravanam antakarnam shuddhyatam apiksham. Jiva Goswami Pad said, Bhakti begins by hearing. And in the beginning, one should hear about Krishna's name. And by surrendering to Guru and rendering service and hearing about the name, the heart becomes purified. And when the antakaran, the inner sense, is purified, then when we hear the name, then the form of the name manifests in the heart. And that is called Shravanam, hearing, actual Shravanam. If there's not realization, it's not actually bhakti. It's the abhas of bhakti at the most. Maybe bhakti aparad or bhakti abhas, but it will not be shuddha bhakti without experience, because bhakti parashana bhavo viraktir anyatra chaisya trika eka kala. When a person who is surrendered engages in bhakti, three things happen. Trika eka kala at once. There is bhakti, that means the taste, an experience of taste. That means abhilas, our desire to serve is growing. Bhakti, parish anubhav, and there is realization of God, parish anubhav. And there is virakti, detachment. One becomes detached from this world. Just as tushti pushti shud apayo nugasam, just as when you eat. Then with each bite, from the very beginning, from the first bite, there is tushti, a feeling of satisfaction. So here, the feeling of satisfaction corresponds with the joy of expanding seva abhilas, an expanding desire to serve. In the world, you have a desire, but it's a kind of discomfort, because until the desire is fulfilled, you don't feel the satisfaction. But bhakti is not like that. The desire and the satisfaction are the same thing. The seva abhilas is the ruchi. The seva abhilas is the ullas. It is the expansion of the chitta, which is a gyan vishesh, a special state of joy. So spiritual happiness and material happiness, they're quite different from each other. So tushti, when you eat, you immediately experience satisfaction. Here satisfaction means the joy, but it's the joy of the taste, and that taste is actually the increasing seva abhilas. Bhakti, devotion to Krishna, doesn't require to be rewarded. Just like Lord Nishingadev said, Vlad, I'll give you a benediction. Vlad Maharaj said, I didn't serve you to get something in return. I'm not a businessman. I'm not a merchant. Why? Because the reward for service is the joy of the service itself. It doesn't require compensation. So tushti, pushti. Pushti means nourishment. So here nourishment corresponds to paresh anubhav, the realization of Krishna. Because actually seeing Krishna nourishes the desire to serve. So it's called, it nourishes our joy. So paresh anubhav, the realization of Krishna, is compared to the nourishment we get. When we eat food, we feel strength coming. If you're really hungry and weak, then when you eat, you feel invigorated and strength coming. So realizing Krishna gives you more spiritual strength. And virakti, here in this example, it is analogous to the hunger goes away. So you become detached from this world. So now we're coming to the next descriptor of the Nāma-tattva, the next adjective of Nāma-tattva, and that is it is Kalpana Rahita. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the name of Krishna is called Kalpana Rahita. Rohit means without, and Kalpana means imagination. Kalpana. Kalpana, when we use, it's so important to define all of these terms very carefully and scientifically. Because in sadhu bhasha, in the language of sadhus, the words don't mean the same thing that they mean in our conventional conversations. So, for example, if we say in conventional life, imagination, then imagination means some fantasy. But in sadhu bhasha, then vikalpa means vastu shunyo vikalpaha. In Yoga Sutras, Yoga Sutra 1.9, there Patanjali has said, Shabda Gyan Anupati Vastu Shunyo Vikalpaha. The knowledge which arises from the use of words, which creates a conception in the mind, which doesn't have a corresponding reality in the mind-independent world, is called vikalpa. In other words, when we have an idea and this idea doesn't correspond with the true nature of the thing we're thinking of, it's called vikalpa, imagination. So imagination, vikalpa or kalpana in sadhu bhasha, in the language of sadhus, doesn't mean fantasy in the way we think of it. But the truth of the matter is, as long as we're in a conditioned state, our ideas about everything is kalpana. It's all kalpana. It's all imagination. For example, if you walk into a room and suddenly a fight breaks out and people are throwing bottles here and there, and then there's a gunshot, bang, and now you're all in fear. Chaos. What will happen next? It's all vikalpa. If Prahlad Maharaj will walk into that room, will he be scared? Would Prahlad Maharaj be scared? Why? Because reality is one. And there's no swatantra vastu. There is no thing that exists independently from God. God is in control of everything. And He's Suridam Sarvabhuta. He is the best friend of every living entity. So someone who is enlightened, who's free from vikalpa, He doesn't perceive the world as a hostile environment, full of chaos, random independent things banging into each other. No. One whose mind is free from illusion, from vikalpa, he sees sarva bhuteshu ya pasyat bhagavat bhavam atmana. Everything exists within the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord exists within everything. There is nothing separate from him. Everything that is going on is perfect. God is minutely orchestrating every detail of reality at every moment. And nothing can wiggle loose from his desire in any way. Maya Dyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacha. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, the whole world of moving and non-moving living entities is going on under my supervision. Doesn't mean that he's personally there as a supervisor telling everyone what to do. But it literally means supervision. His vision is super. So here vision means itcha. By his glance, the whole the universes are manifest. And glance indicates itcha. So according to the desire of God, everything is going on. It is said that not even a blade of grass can move without the will of God. So when we speak about kalpana or vikalpa, imagination, as long as we're in the conditioned state, our whole concept about everything, it's all imagine, it's all fantasy actually. So, now, how does this relate to Nāma-tattva? In the Vishnu Purana, there it is said, Nayatra nata vidyante nama jatyadi kalpana tad brahma paramam nityam avikari bhavan aja. Na kalpanam ritirtasya sarvasyadi gamoyata tata Krishna chutananta Vishnu nama ijase. What to speak of the holy name being produced by the senses today? It's very difficult to produce just any words whatsoever. So I pray to Krishna, please allow my voice to survive this class and descend in the form of Shabda Brahma, so that if I cannot explain it perfectly, but still the reality may be communicated heart to heart. So the meaning of this verse is, Nayatranata vidyante, O my Lord, you are the eternal, unchanging, and unborn absolute truth. And in you, there is no kalpana of jati, gun, and kriya. Nama jati adi kalpana. Here jati means jati. You know what jati means, right? You all know what jati means. I'll explain afterwards if you want. Jati adi. Adi means etc. In other words, in every word that we use, every word, no exception. Open any dictionary. You can categorize every word in the dictionary in one of four categories. Jati means a universal. The word jati itself means category, right? It means a category, jati. So in Western philosophy, they're universals. Just like if a person, he sees, here's an apple, here's an apple, here's an apple. They're all apples because each one of them is the instantiation of appleness. That object, which is the instantiation of appleness, or that which is in all things which are called apples, and which is not present in those things which are not apples, is called appleness. The jati of appleness, the universal. So, appleness is one thing, that universal, that jati is one thing, that category is one thing, but every time you see an apple, you know this belongs to in this category of things called apples. So, every word is describing a jati, a category, a gun, that is a quality, a Dravya. Dravya means a substance. So a substance has a quality. Just like a substance, the stone has the quality of being hard. So the dravya is the substrate in which the quality is in here. And then kriya, then that means verbs. Words, there may be verbs that describe some action. So all words either describe jati, dravya, guna, or kriya. So here, the prayer is nayatra nata vidyante nama jata adikalpana. Oh my Lord, you are the eternal, unchanging, unborn, absolute truth. And in you, there is no kalpana, that means conceptualization of any class, quality, substance, or action. However, because without conceptualizing, nothing can be understood. How can you understand anything without thinking about what it is? Therefore, you are addressed by names such as Krishna, Achyuta, Ananta, Vishnu, Nāma-tattva idyase. You are worshipped by such holy names as Krishna, Achyuta, Ananta, Vishnu. Now, please listen very carefully. Please listen very carefully, because this is something astonishing. What's the difference? This verse of the Padma Purana, Brahmanda Pramana, sorry, Vishnu Purana. This verse of the Vishnu Purana is addressing what's the difference between every word in the dictionary and the holy name. And this is the difference. Profound philosophical difference. Oh, my Lord, you are addressed by names such as Krishna. Krish means attractive. Karshati, he attracts. Or Krish can indicate Buddhatu, existence. He is all existence. There is no existence separate from him. And Na means nirvriti. That means ananda, joy. So who's the embodiment, the attractive, beautiful embodiment of all existence and joy? It's called Krishna. So this is etymology of the name. So you can have some conception. To whom does this word Krishna relate? Krishna, the all-attractive source of all existence and joy. Achyuta. Krishna is Achyuta, that means infallible. He never dies. Whatever he does is successful. He's Ananta. He's without end. And he's Vishnu. That means he's all-pervading. But if we just take the etymological understanding of the words, then we are bound to use kalpana, imagination, in terms of, well, what does it mean that God's unlimited? Right? If you say to someone, God's unlimited, they think, well, yeah, like space. Space is unlimited. And then they imagine that God has no form. Because if he were to have a form, then how could he be unlimited? Because forms are limited. So even dealing with the etymology of the names of God, we still end up being buried in vikalpa. So why does it say, oh my Lord, your names are vikalpa rahita? The imagination related to the substance, the jati, the gun, the dravya and kriya, the category, the qualities, the substance and the activity. Actually, these things are not in your name. What does that mean? So, it means this. In the school of Nyaya, and also in our school of Vedanta, and also in the Yoga Sutras, there is an explanation about vikalpa. And it is this. can give a definition of vikalpa. This is from the Shloka Vartika of Kumara Bhatta. He said, Asti hyalochanam jnanam pratamam nirvikalpakam balamukadi vijnana sadrisham shuddha vastujam. So this verse is the definition, not of kalpana, but nirvikalpa. And it means this. When you perceive something, something comes before your eyes, then the senses contact that object. And then your chitta, based on the power of your senses, which are pran, it causes a movement in your chitta. That is in the fabric of your psychological body. Chitta is the foundational fabric of your psychological body. And the chitta transforms and it makes a form of that object. So no one sees the world directly. You are seeing always a model of the world made by your own chitta, the fabric of your subtle body. Just like if you point a camera at something like this, then whatever the lens is pointed at appears in pixels on the screen. So we can say your chitta is like the screen, your eye is like the lens, it's looking at the object, and your chitta is transforming and making a model of that, and your soul is seeing that model. And that's how perception takes place. And that is why if someone has, let's say someone has a fever of 105 degrees, they're about to die, they start hallucinating. Or if someone's pran is disturbed by some drugs, they also hallucinate. So even though one person is looking, and that person is looking at the same thing, but one person is seeing it completely different due to hallucination, and the other person is seeing the way it is. So this gives evidence that the way that we see the world is actually we're seeing a replica of the world made by the substance of our own psychological body. Doesn't mean that world is not real. The world is real, but we're seeing a representation of it. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the philosophy Srimad Bhagavatam, that is called chaya. We see a chaya. So chaya means shadow, but in the terminology of Srimad Bhagavatam, it means the representation of the world that our soul experiences, which is a model made by our chitta. And if our senses and pran are functioning properly, it will make a model which corresponds in many ways to the world. And that's why we're able to navigate through the obstacles of life, because there is not a perfect correspondence, not an absolute one-to-one correspondence between our chaya and the real world, but it's close enough that we don't bump into walls and step off a cliff to do these things by accident. Okay, so that's how perception takes place. Now, this perception has two stages. The first stage is when our chitta presents to us the object, but we don't begin to analyze it yet. That's just a raw, unfiltered, uninterpreted perception. So that raw, unfiltered, uninterpreted perception is called nirvikalpa pratyaksh. So pratyaksh means perception, sensory perception, and nirvikalpa means you haven't started to imagine what it really is yet. It's just a raw, unfiltered, uninterpreted perception. But then, in a split second, we don't even notice. But the element of our subtle body called a buddhi, intelligence, moves over that object and begins to compare it with a previous samskar, a previous experience. And by comparing this experience with a previous experience, because smriti or memory is also a function of buddhi, then we come up with the idea, let's say something appears, what we're doing, we're slowing down. We're slowing down the play speed of time. We're slowing down the playing speed of reality. And you look and your chitta produces a model. and your soul is seeing something big and green with round things all over it. But it's just a pure perception, an uninterpreted perception. Then your intelligence moves and you think this is an apple tree. Right? So for everyone, this happens so fast that we don't even notice that there are two stages of perception. But the great sages and yogis who in their meditation, they go deeply and they see all the fine inner workings of the mind. They have scientifically explained the systematic way in which we understand the world and perceive and understand the world. So, astete alochanam jnanam pratanam nirvikalpakam. The first uninterpreted raw perception is called nirvikalpa pratyaksh. Balamukadi vigyana sadisham shuddhavastujam. It is just a pure perception without interpretation, like that of a child. You know, if there's a newborn baby and they just open their eyes, right? What will happen if you bring a deadly cobra before the newborn baby? The newborn baby will go, goo goo gaga, smiling, just completely unaffected. Why? Nirvikalpa. Because the buddhi has not emerged yet. The memories and the connections have not emerged yet. But if you wake up in the morning and see a deadly cobra in front of you, what will happen? And it'll happen so fast. Right? It'll happen so fast. So our experience goes through two stages, nirvikalpa pratyaksh and then savikalpa pratyaksh. Savikalpa pratyaksha. So, in the same way, here the Vishnu Purana is saying, "Oh my Lord, in regard to your holy name, there is no kalpana, there is no vikalpa in regard to your holy name of jati, dravya, gun and kriya." And the meaning is this. Let's take, for example, if there's a general audience of people and I say, Krishna was born in Gokul, then an ordinary person will say, Krishna, well, that's some human being, right? It's already vikalpa. They heard the word. First, they just heard the sound. Krishna was born in Gokul. Then their intelligence moved and began to put each word of the sentence. This is a substance. This is an activity. This is a category. So Krishna goes in the category of persons. He was born goes in the activity of kriya. In Gokul, it goes in the category of, it goes into the category of categories here, jati. And among them, it's a place and so on. So they categorize everything. There's a vikalpa in that. So the intelligence does imagination because Krishna is not born like an ordinary person. And Krishna is not a human being. Gokul is not even a physical place. So everything is wrong. So a sadhu speaks something and the person is listening and everything is wrong. This is why surrender is necessary. Because only surrender makes the heart open. Surrender means to give up all our worldly ideas. To give up vidya buddhi, that I know something. And just the heart becomes exposed to receive the shabda, Brahma. So there's no vikalpa. There's nothing interfering with the transmission of the truth in the form of transcendental sound. So someone will say, oh, well, he was born, he has a mother. How can he be God? He's got a mother, then maybe his mother could be God, but he can't be God. You say Krishna's a cowherd boy. So why would God take cows out to graze? If I were God, I wouldn't have a job. I just enjoy. If you say Krishna's everywhere, then they'll think, well, he's like empty like space. He can't have a form. So whenever a person speaks, even they're speaking the absolute truth, but it all becomes intercepted and interfered by the material buddhi, material intelligence. Vikalpa comes and gobbles everything. And this is why you can't pick the pocket of a sadhu. You can't just show up to where there's a sadhu. Come, I'm going to get the knowledge now. Put it in my pocket and I'm leaving with the knowledge. Never happens. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Surrender, hear, and serve. Otherwise, the knowledge, the actual reality will not manifest. So, now, let's look at how kalpa works in two directions. To understand the holy name, if you want to know something, understand what is Nāma-tattva, then you have to understand how kalpana works in two directions. One direction is you see an object and you give it a name. The other direction is the object is not present, but you hear a name and it conjures up the image of what that name refers to. So two things, the object causes the name or the name causes a concept of the object. Two directions. So let's look at them one by one. So with the example, we just gave the example. You saw something. It was big, it was green. It was covered with so many round red things. And then buddhi moved. And then you say, then you give the name. This is an apple tree. And in any language, there's a word for apple tree. Different. It's kind of arbitrary. It's decided by consensus. We all agree that these are the sounds that we're going to use to represent this thing. So there's no inherent relationship between the sound and the object. And the sound was connected with the object by vikalpa. There was a raw experience, uninterpreted. Then the buddhi moved, vikalpa retrieved a previous experience of a consensus agreement of what vibration we're going to use to label this big green thing. And then the name comes apple tree. Okay? So that's vikalpa in one direction. So you may have a friend. I mean, let's say in this world, you all have names. But where did this name come from? Your parents saw the newborn baby and said, oh, let's call him whatever. Ricardo. Like this. But they could have called him anything. A baby can be born blind and the parents can call him Sarvadarshi. Means one who sees everything. No, let's change his name to Padmalojan. But it doesn't matter. These names have no connection. They're all a product of vikalpa. So that's one direction. So let's look at it in the other direction. We're in this room. There are no apple trees. But if I say the word apple tree, then you hear the sound. First, the sound comes in your ear. It's a nirvikalpa pratyaksh. Then buddhi moves and connects that sound with the sound you've heard before. And then that sound is connected with an image. And you realize when I say apple tree, I mean a large green thing with the red balls all over it, like this. So here, the vikalpa is going both ways. Either we see the object and then the act of vikalpa takes place, or we hear the word and the vikalpa connects it with the object, like that. So now, let's apply this to Krishna. The form of Krishna is there. Did someone give a label to this form? No. Why? Because before the universe existed, Krishna existed. And his name was Krishna. Because he's self-existent, he's also akhanda, indivisible. He's partless. He doesn't have parts. We say this is hand, this is his foot, this is eye. But his eye can do what his foot can do, what his hand can do. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti pasyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti. All the senses of Krishna are interchangeable. Why? Because he's a self-existent akhanda tattva, indivisible reality. So because he's indivisible, every aspect of him, including his name, is non-different from him. So you cannot get his name and put Krishna here and get his name and put it over there. If you get his name and try to put it over there, the whole of Krishna comes with it. In fact, Krishna was already over there before you moved it, because he's all-pervading. This is the nature of the self-existent, all-pervading, indivisible reality, that is actually non-different from his name. Now, consider, before the universe was manifest, Krishna existed and his name existed, and it was non-different from him. In Western theology, that is called onomatodoxy. Onomatodoxy is the theological principle that God and his holy name are not two things, they're the same. Abhinatvam nama namino. So first, Krishna existed before the world. That means before the Prakriti manifested the Nāma-tattva. And from the Nāma-tattva, that is a chitta, your chitta came. And from your chitta came Sutra Tattva, Pran, from Rajagun, and then from Tamagun came Ahankar, ego. And then from the ego, which was slightly more, the portion that was more sattvic, came Manas. And then Buddhi, the intelligence, came from the Rajasic portion of Ahankar. So these are the elements, and this is the description of how the elements gradually, from the Nāma-tattva, there's a gradual devolution of the Nāma-tattva into all the elements, from the subtle to the gross elements. So what is Vikalpa? Nāma-tattva, Chitta, Pran, Ahankar, Manas, Buddhi. Vikalpa is one transformation of that Buddhi. Right? So how can there be Vikalpa related to Krishna's name when Krishna existed along with his name before the universe was manifest, before Nāma-tattva, before Chitta, before Pran, before Ahankar, before Manas, and then Buddhi, and then Vikalpa comes? Therefore, Krishna's name is Vikalpa Rahita. It is not the ascribing a sound vibration to an object due to the movement of that element Buddhi, which is a Rajasic transformation of Ahankar, which is a Tamasic transformation of Chitta. So, can you see how a word, an ordinary word, and Krishna Nam, they're not similar even. They are far, far, far different from each other. So, going in that direction, we can say that the Buddhi is the Rajasic transformation of Ahankar. But then from the Ahankar comes the Tamasic transformation of Ahankar. And that is Shabda, sound. And from Shabda comes Akash, space, and so on, and then all the gross elements. So the Buddhi identifies the object by Vikalpa and then ascribes to it a sound, a Shabda. That Shabda in this world is the Tamasic transformation of Ahankar, even further away from the reality of Krishna Nam. So in this way, in this direction, going from the object to the word, there is Vikalpa in ordinary words, but no Vikalpa and not even a material sound vibration. The name of Krishna is not even a Shabda of this world. It's clear. Ontologically, metaphysically. Yeah? Is it clear to everyone? Yeah? Okay. Now let's go the other way. Let's go from the name to the object. So, when you hear the name of a person, John, then the sound comes. And when that sound enters your ear, what happens first? Yes, first nirvikalpa pratyaksh is just a sound. John. And at that state, you're like a zombie. Right? Can't. But then in a split second, buddhi moves, connects with the memory, and connects the memory to a picture, an experience. And you think, John, oh, then you realize that you're John. He's calling me. Yes, like this. So with ordinary, how we're going in this direction now, from the sound to the object. Could be you, could be anyone else, could be anything. So it goes in that way. So there is an intermediation of kalpana or vikalpa. The kalpana or vikalpa is intermediating between the sound and the object. Now Jiva Goswami Pad said that with the name of Krishna, this does not apply because in the name of, it is vikalpa rohita, kalpana rohita. It is free from vikalpa. And this is so important. This is so important. Try to catch this idea. Jiva Goswami Pad uses a technical term from grammar, and that is jatiti pratita. Jatiti pratita. The word jatiti means immediate, and pratita means experience. The name of Krishna does not come as a sound, and then it is not mediated by buddhi, but when we actually engage in shravanam, hearing, then when the sound of Krishna comes, there is jyotiti pratita. That means immediate experience. Unmediated by the intellect, but the form of Krishna, spurti. There is an immediate vision of the form of Krishna in the heart, and that is called shravanam. I want to point this out also. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur spoke on this subject so many times, and it has been elaborately described in the book you can see on our book table, Gaudiya Darshan, that all words can be understood according to Agya Ruddhi or Vidvat Ruddhi. Agya Ruddhi means the conventional meaning of words according to Agya, an ignorant person. So an ignorant person, they hear the word shravanam, hearing, and they think it means like, oh, you hear a car rings his horn outside, beep, beep, yeah. And when we speak about bhakti, yes, the first anga of bhakti is shravanam. Yeah, I understand that. It's like beep, beep, hearing something outside, but we hear, but instead of a horn, we're hearing about Krishna. No. The word shravanam, where sadhus used it, that is vidvat ruddhi. The meaning of the word, according to enlightened persons, is that because Krishna is non-different from his name, and he is the non-dual absolute truth, only a person whose mind is free from duality, when he hears the sound Krishna, he has the darshan of Krishna, and that is called the anga of bhakti, called shravanam. Remember, bhakti parash anubhavo virakti. Bhakti gives anubhav, immediate realization. If you're not realizing, it's not bhakti. What is it? Anyabhilashta shunyam jnana kamadhyanavritam. The bhakti is avrita. The bhakti is covered. If there's not a direct experience, that means our bhakti is covered by something, karma, jnana, or something else. And if it's not covered, then shravanam is darshanam, kirtanam is darshanam, smarnam is darshanam, is ikshitapat, the path of seeing through the ears. Bhagavatam says, tam bhakti yoga paribhavita suroja asaisu takshita patana nunata pungsa. This path of bhakti is the sutakshita part, the path of seeing through the ears. So we should consider it very carefully. Is my bhakti covered or not? That means, is Krishna covered or not when I'm engaged in bhakti? So here, this is the next point that you should note down. The name is, what is the name? Van manas agochara. Nikala praman parichched agochara. Swata siddha. Swapakash, self-manifest. Vikalpa rohita, free from vikalpa. Jatiti pratita, it causes immediate experience. Jatiti pratita. And so, there is no kalpana, there is no intermediation of the intellect in the chanting of the holy name. It goes straight immediately from the sound to the experience, because that's the meaning of abhinatvam nama namino. That nam and nami, the name and the person name, they are the same person. They are not two things. So, the next term you can note down in Nāma-tattva. We are reconstructing our whole idea of the holy name today, taking help of the terms that our great acharyas have used. So the next term is Vastu Shakti. Vastu Shakti. The word Vastu means a substance, and Shakti means power. In other words, there is a power in the substance itself that does not depend on your buddhi, on your intellect. For example, if there's a fire, a small child may not know that fire burns, but if they will touch the fire, they will be burned. Why? Because there's Vastu Shakti. There's power in the name. So power in the fire to burn. It's in the fire itself. It doesn't require the understanding of the child. So that's called Vastu Shakti. So the definition of Vastu Shakti is Vastu Shaktir nahi buddhim apekshate. Vastu Shakti nahi buddhim apekshate. Vastu Shakti does not depend, apekshate, on your intellect. It's in the substance itself. And so, Jatiti Pratita means the experience of Krishna in his name does not depend on your intellect. In fact, it's the material intellect which is intercepting the sound and stopping us from that experience. So, Vastu Shakti. So Jiva Goswami has given an example through one type of nyaya or logic. And that logic is called the logic of Dasamas Tvam Asi. Means you are the 10th person. Once there was a group of people and they were going on a journey and they had a leader and they all got on a boat and they crossed the river. When they got out of the boat on the other side, there was a big crowd in the boat and they all got out on the other side. Then the leader appointed someone, just count and make sure we're all here, that all 10 of us are here. So then that person, he was a bit simple and he was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's someone missing. So then he went to his friend and said, I think there's someone missing. Can you count? Sure, I'll do the count. He was simple also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're right. There's someone missing. So then someone nearby was watching this comical scene and came up to him and said, Dasamas Tvam Asi, you are the 10th person. And immediately he became enlightened. Oh, there's no one missing. I am the 10th person. He immediately understood. He didn't understand it through sense perception. He didn't understand it through inference. It was just immediately. It was an immediate experience. And so, tata aparoksa jnane cha dasamas tvam asitivat vakyamatrina tasya swapakash rupasyapi vastuno vishuddha chitte swapakash darshanat sruti shabdasya swapakashata shaktimayatvam evavasiyate. In Bhagavad Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami Pad, he's using this example because it was very commonly known in India at that time. It was commonly used among the followers of Shankara Acharya, the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, who say that only Brahman is true. Only the light is true and everything is an illusion. So who are you? Well, you must be that Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. So they say that when a person takes sannyas they become ordained as a renunciate monk in the tradition of Shankaracharya, in personalist tradition, then the guru whispers in your ear, Tat Tvam Asi, you are that. And then hearing that sound, you become Brahman realized. And now you're a Mukta Mahapurush, you are a liberated person. So of course this is just a speculation. But as those persons think that by saying Tat Tamasi, then you realize you're Brahman. Or we can say in the example of that simple person, you are the 10th person. And immediately his mistake is immediately removed. And the knowledge is immediately self-manifest by the sound. So in the same way, Vastu no Vishuddha Chitte Swapakash Darshanat. It is seen that Shruti Shrabdasya Swapakashata Shaktimayatvam Eva Avasiyate. That when the disciple receives the sound of mantra or the sound of the Vedas or the pastimes of Sri Krishna, the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, that they are Swapakash. They immediately manifest in the heart of the disciple at once. Just by the statement, manifest in his Vishuddha Chitta, in his pure heart. So therefore, the holy name has been termed by this term, Jatiti Pratita. It produces immediate experience. So when we're chanting, we should consider that if we're chanting and we're not having immediate experience, then we are still in the realm of Nāma-tattva. Why? Because Jiva Goswami goes on to say that Sanketya dav api tadrisha prabhavaha. Sanketya. Sanketya means to use the name to indicate something else. Just like Ajamil. Ajamil was not calling God. He was calling his son. He'd given his son the name Narayan. So he's going, hey, Narayan, shut up. Narayan, come and take your dinner. Narayan, sit down. Narayan, drink your milk. Narayan, put that knife down. He was Narayan, he was saying all the time. It was not to call God, it was to refer to his son. That's called Sanketya. But he was not committing the Nāma-tattva. And at the last moment of his life, he called Narayan, and 4 associates Narayan came and saved him. Now, even though that Sanketya, in that particular case of Ajamil, he was doing Sanket, but he did not have an experience there and then of the Supreme Lord. But Nāma-bhas, the semblance of the holy name, there are many types of Nāma-bhas. And even Nāma-bhas has the power to produce Jatiti Pratita, immediate vision of the Lord. Yes, Nāma-bhas has. So Jiva Goswami part here is saying, Sanketya Adav. The word Adav means Adi. Adau becomes Adi. It means etc. In other words, there are different types of Nāma-bhas. Sankatyam Paryasyambhas Tobam Helanam Evava. You can chant the name of Krishna for a joke. Parihas. You can chant the name of Krishna just to fill in a gap in a song, in the melody of a song. Sita Kamala Kuchamandala. And then there's a bit of a gap. So Hari, you could say Hari in the gap like that. So there are ways of, sometimes musicians, they put names of God in the gaps of the lyrics in a particular melody. So That's called stobha. Stobha. Helana. With neglect. Someone may chant neglectfully as well. But all of these are different types of namabhas. So sankatyadav api tadrisha prabhav. Tadrish means in that way. And prabhav means influence. So Jiva Goswami describes that the holy name has the characteristic jatiti pratita. It produces immediate experience. And sankatyadavapi tadrisha prabhav. There is even such a power in Nam Abhas, beginning with Sankatya and the other forms of Nam Abhas. That's amazing. So, Jiva Goswami Pad also said, if you, let us say, the holy name is also Shastrati Prasiddha. Shastrati Prasiddha. Shastra means in the scripture. Ati, exceptionally Prasiddha, famous. The names of God like Krishna, Achyuta, Vishnu, Ananta, they're exceptionally famous throughout the scriptures. That's another characteristic of the holy name. Because if you invent a name of God, it will not have the same power. If you decide that I'm praying to God, but I don't like this word God, it's more like a political analysis of his metaphysical position in the universe. I'd like to relate to him more personally. What about Roberto? That won't work. It won't work. So, the characteristics of the holy name, because that was, what was it? It was not Vikalpa Rohit. You thought of the object and then you applied a label to it. So it was not Vikalpa Rohit. So it's not really a holy name. And so another characteristic is Shastrati Prasiddha, that the names of the Lord, they're exceedingly famous throughout the Vedic scriptures. And so they're swapakash, they're self-revelatory, self-revealing. And anisham kalpana maya, anyesham kalpana maya. Anyesham kalpana maya means that every other name is the product of kalpana. Now, let's go through the terms. What did we begin with? Raise your hand. First term. Let's see who's paying attention. Van manas agochara. Then? Okay, that was one of them. Half a point. Nikhila praman parichhed agochara. They are not accessible by all the 10 methods of investigation. Yes. Then, Swatasiddha, self-existent. The name can produce you, but you can't produce the name. Self-existent. Then, Swapakash, they're self-illuminating. Then, Vikalpa Rahita. But how much philosophy you have to understand just to know what it means, Vikalpa Rahita. This is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. The holy name is Vikalpa Rahita. So not this way or that way. It's Vikalpa Rahita. Then, Jatiti Pratita. Jatiti Pratita gives immediate experience. Then, Vastu Shakti. It has its own power. It is not that the name reveals. The name needs your help to reveal himself. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh, Krishna, it's a bit dark in here. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I can't see you. Perhaps do you need some light, Krishna? Hare Krishna. No, Krishna is self-illuminating. So Swapakash. And? Shastrati Prasiddha, famous throughout the scriptures. And Sankatya Dav Api Tadrisha Prabhavaha. That means that even the types of Nāma-abhās beginning with Sanketya, they have the same effect in terms of producing immediate experience. So Nāma-abhās also produces immediate experience, not only Shuddha-nam. Now these things, our new appreciation for the holy name is established by hearing from our acharyas. We have a refreshed and newly invigorated relationship with the holy name. How can this help us? So in the Rig Veda, there it is stated, Om asya jananto namachid viviktana mahaste vishno sumatim bhajamahe Om tat sat. So here the rishis are praying, Oh my Lord, asya jananto, that means we know you, but not very much. In other words, we know that God, we know that you exist, but we're not really deeply acquainted with you. Om asya jananto. But namachid, we know that your name is chit, conscious, fully conscious. Chid viviktana. Viviktana means repetition. And we know Mahaste Vishnu. Oh Vishnu, your name is Mahas. So Mahas means the Swapakash, effulgent, self-illuminating. We know that your name is Swapakash, self-illuminating, self-revelatory. So even though our understanding of the truth is limited, we have only partial knowledge, but Viviktana, he means Aksha Abhyas. Aksha means syllables, Aksha, and Abhyas means repetition. Simply by Aksha Abhyas, the repetition of the syllables of your name, Sumatim. Sumati will have Sumati, a beautiful realization. Bhajamahe means pratnumaha, we will attain. Sumatim bhajamahe, simply by the repetition of the syllables of your name, because they're self-manifesting, we will attain a beautiful realization of you. Om Tat Sat. Why? Because Tat, the absolute truth, which is indicated by the holy name, Om. Om is a holy name. Sat. Sat, here the word Sat means Swata Siddha, self-existent, and Swapakash, self-illuminating. So Om Tat Sat is essence of the Vedas. That is Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, 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 gati anyata. The holy name is everything. And one can realize the supreme truth just by the holy name alone. Because the syllables are self-illuminating. Om, Tat, that absolute truth, who goes by the name of Om, Sat, is Swata Siddha, self-existence and self-illuminating. Now, this statement of the Rig Veda, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has presented it in the beginning also, in the first chapter of Bhajan Rahasya. Because without this, you can't do bhajan. It's not possible to do bhajan without this. Because the implication is because the names have their own power. We can only realize them by their power, not by our power. So, all the Vedas say the holy name reveals himself by Aksha Abhyas, the repetition of the syllables. They produce the Jatiti Pratita. Now, what will happen if a person, they hear this statement of the Vedas, but they're thinking, oh, no. How is that possible? You just repeat the syllables, Hare Krishna, Krishna, and Krishna will reveal it. How is that possible? There has to be some other secret. There has to be some other confidential explanation. The holy name will not reveal himself unless someone will tell me my Gopi Swarup or something like this. then what does that become? If a person does not understand that Nam is Vikalpa Rahita, it is free from the intermediation of your own mind and effort, but rather he manifests himself simply by the repetition of the syllables. Then, Tadatavado Harinam Nikalpanam, the sixth offense to the holy name. Harinam Nikalpanam, to do kalpana in regard to the holy name. Prabhupada translated as to think that the glories of the holy name are imaginary. So if a person does not accept deeply in their heart that simply the repetition of the syllables, by that Krishna will reveal himself, and he thinks there's something extra needed, then they're thinking that what is written in the Rig Veda, Om Tat Sat, is imaginary. So Harinam Nikalpanam. So then, when you think that the glories of the holy name described in the scripture, they're imaginary, then it becomes like a self-reinforcing misconception. It becomes a self-reinforcing misconception because you think the name that itself, the repetition of the syllables, cannot reveal everything. So therefore, that itself is a Nāma-parād. So when you chant, because of Nāma-parād, the syllables don't reveal anything. So then your own experience is, well, I've been chanting for so many years, but I'm not realizing anything. So I need all these other secret things. Because it's not revealing anything. So your own Nāma-parād reinforces your own experience and you make more aparad. And then you just go round and round in this circle for lifetimes. And no one can get off the ground. Everyone gets their japamala and sits on the launch pad, but the Bhakti Lata Bij is not sprouting and taking them beyond the coverings of the universe. And beyond Brahman and beyond Vaikuntha to Goloka Vrindavan. Just sitting there, still in this material world after so many years of chanting. Why? Because they did not know that they were covered by the dense entanglement of Nāma-parād. And today we're just trying to clear that one. Tadatavadho Harinam Nikalpanam. To think that the glories of the holy name are an exaggeration or imagination. The fifth and sixth offenses. To think that it's an exaggeration or imagination. And therefore, by understanding the Nāma-tattva, how Nam is Vanmanasa Gochara, Nikila Pariched, Praman Pariched Agochara, Swata Siddha, Swapakash, Vastu Shakti, Jatiti Pratita, the Sankatya Dhav Api, Tadrisha Prabhavaha, Shastriti Prasiddha, all these aspects of Nāma-tattva. By hearing this, then the covering of Tadatavado Harinam Nikalpanam, thinking that the glories of the holy name are an exaggeration or involving vikalpa in our hearing and chanting, these obstacles become removed and we come so many steps closer to experiencing the sprouting of Nam Bij. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is mentioned that Tabujani aparadi tahite prachur Krishna nama bijatai nakari ankur. That the holy name is a seed, and by chanting every day it sprouts, and Krishna's form, his qualities, associates, your own swarup and services and pastimes manifest. But if the seed of the name nakari ankur, it is not sprouting, then tabe jani aparadi toite prachur. It's to be understood that that person has the prachur aparad. So many offenses are there. And how can a person get out? We don't even know how we're committing the offenses. even. And therefore, the first step on pure bhakti is Shravanam, hearing. Hear Nam Rup Gun Lila. And the first step of the first step is to hear Nāma-tattva, the glories of the holy name, the glories of Nāma-tattva. So I pray that those who are struggling in their japa today, that first step has been made, those obstacles can be removed, and very soon, holy name will reveal his Ananda Swarup, his Ganananda Swarup, his form of condensed spiritual joy. Sri Nam Prabhu ki! Hare Krishna. So we'll continue with Nāma-tattva this evening, and then tomorrow we'll discuss the glories of the holy name in relation to the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the pastimes of Radha and Krishna.
Oh.